Can you increase your chances of winning a government contract by fixing 4 key compliance issues? Absolutely. Absolutely. In this video, I'm going to break down these key compliance tips to help you stay ahead of the competition and land those 6- and 7-figure contracts. After decades of refining a proven method, I've helped thousands of small business owners across the United States transform their business and the services they provide into a profitable, scalable business. Like Tiffany, who turned her passion for entrepreneurship into a thriving landscaping company. She secured her first government contract worth $45,500 and leveraged that win to negotiate a second contract. Or Princess, who turned her desire to support the young men in her family and community into a profitable lawn care business. With my years of experience, I've created a free training that addresses the compliant issues most people face when starting out and flipping them into opportunities to get you to the evaluation stage of the bid process. If you're ready to take the next step, comment the word breakdown below and we'll send you the link to access our How to Break Down a Solicitation, the 5 overlooked factors that could cost you the contract training. So I've been doing this work for a very long time, and nothing excites me more than supporting people and getting their first bid done fast and building a business that's scalable to 6- and even 7-figure contracts, all while building a business that supports their personal goals. That's why I'm diving into 4 factors in this video. So let's get to it. So in order to overcome the common compliance issues that most small businesses face, the first thing is you cannot submit, and here, let me write it down for you. Okay, so you can't submit an incomplete proposal. So here's what I'm talking about with an incomplete proposal. These are some of the things that they're very common, but a lot of times people miss out on these things. One is missing documents. So you want to make sure you have all the documents. Okay. The second thing is not following the instructions. Now, this is a biggie here. Misinterpreting the solicitation requirements. Now, I'm going to tell you how to overcome these things too, so make sure you stick around for the entire video. The second thing is inaccurate information. So I hope you can see this. Okay, so the second thing is inaccurate information. One is overestimating costs. Yes, they will know. Your price not being competitive, definitely a disqualify you. And the contract not being profitable for you. That should self-disqualify yourself. So, incomplete proposal, immediate disqualification. Inaccurate information, that alone could cause you to have a challenge in actually delivering on your promise and being able to complete the project. Because if your price is off, say you underbid, and we're going to get into that here later in this video, but if you underbid and you're awarded the contract, now you're at a loss. Or you just can't do it at all, and then you got to go back to the government and say, you know what, I appreciate this opportunity, or whatever you say, but I appreciate this opportunity. I can't do it at that price. That's not going to leave a good feeling in their mouth. Okay. The other thing with inaccurate information also can cause you to lack the ability to mitigate risk. And I talk extensively about this inside of my Bid to Win Accelerator program, because for my construction people, those that provide a service, the higher the risk, you want to be able to mitigate it as much as possible and face it head on and actually have a plan in place for things that may come up, because of course this is your area of expertise, so you should know things that could possibly come up, and then you want to mitigate the risk of those things as it relates to you being able to perform, but also cost wise, because if you don't mitigate the risk and some things come up that's unforeseen and you have to eat those costs, it's going to bite into your profit margins. Now, here's the next. I didn't put an extra box, but I'm going to give you 4. So the next thing is lack of contract type. Actually, I want to say lack of understanding contract type. Okay, so what do I mean by that? So you know the government can use different contracting vehicles as well as contracting types. So you need to understand the various contract types. It could be a fixed price. It could be cost reimbursement. It could be time and materials. And these are just some examples, but you have to understand the contract type. And so what does a fixed price mean? What does cost reimbursement mean? What does time and material mean, right? So you need to know that contracting type so that you're able to price correctly. If you don't understand the contract type, the result of that could be, one, you wasted your time and resources on bidding the contract and you don't even have a shot at winning it because you don't understand how to price it correctly. So definite no. Not going to do that. So I'm going to give you a 4th one. Hopefully you guys can see it here. So I'm going to put it down here. And this one is targeting the wrong agencies. Okay. Can you imagine how much time you could waste in targeting the wrong agencies? A lot of times. So if you don't know who to target, number one, how do you understand their mission, what their goals are, what their contracting goals are, what procurement goals do they have out? How can you prepare and be proactive in your approach to even looking for opportunities? How do you know what their procurement history is? Do they even put out type of contracts that you're looking for? Do they set aside contracts for the social economic category that you have a certification for? These are the things you need to know about your agency. And I just want to reiterate here. So let's recap before we move on. But the incomplete proposal, definite disqualification, and we're going to tell you how to overcome that. Inaccurate information, a definite challenge, right? In being able to even, the pricing. If you have inaccurate information, it could be around pricing, it could be around requirements, it could be around your scope of work. And so all of those things could create an issue for you. Lack of contract type, understanding the contract type, another issue, and that could result in a challenge in meeting the agency's need, right? Being able to meet their need, being able to meet their price, being able to perform. So this could cause a lot of issues for you. Then this is, it's kind of like chasing, the wrong thing, if you will, right? So you want to make sure you're targeting the right agencies. Now I'm going to actually dive into each one of these. And by the end of this, as it relates to these 4 things, you'll know how to build your own compliant proposal without any of these factors here costing you the contract. All right, so are you ready? Let's get to it. So don't forget to comment breakdown below, and then we'll send you the free solicitation training to help you build a thriving, successful government contracting business. So at the core of this, you have before the submission, right? Your incomplete proposal. So some of the things that you want to focus on, double check, okay? The information. All right, you want to make sure you have all the information Make sure you have all the pages. So they're going to tell you how many pages is supposed to be included in the solicitation. Sometimes pages are left out. So if they say it's 45 pages, you want to make sure you go through and count and make sure you have all 45 pages, because you want to make sure you're bidding and you're putting a proposal to the right thing. Okay, sometimes it could be some key pages left out. Also, if there's any amendments, you want to make sure you have those as well. Now, you can sign up on sam.gov to get notifications of any changes to the actual solicitation. But I also tell you, those in my community, in my program, to make sure you go check for amendments. Now, in most cases as well, you know how when you fill out your the SF 1442, they'll also have you fill out another form, and I forgot the form number, but it's for any amendments, to make sure you have seen the amendments, and you have to sign that document saying, yes, I saw amendment 1, amendment 2, or whatever it was, okay? Also, formatting, okay? I think it's only 1 T, but there we go. Formatting, you want to make sure you format it like they tell you to. So they may tell you no more than 50 pages. Well, don't give them more than 50 pages. They may tell you to tab every section, then tab the section on pricing, executive summary, scope of work, whatever it is, and put them in the order that they tell you to put them in, because they're not going to go looking all around trying to find your information. So make sure you're formatting it as they tell you. And formatting can even be, they may tell you what font to use, what size font to use. So those things are all important. Whatever they tell you, you have to adhere to the requirements. As well as they may tell you how many copies to send. So they may say, 1 original and 3 copies. And you want to make sure you send 1 original and 3 copies. Why? That means it's probably going to be 4 people sitting on that panel, and everybody needs a copy. So you don't want somebody without a copy. I'm pretty sure they're not going to go make copies if they tell you to send them. Okay, so make sure you send all the copies. And then submission. How do you submit it? They may tell you to email it, fax. Yes, the government still uses fax. You can do it in person. And if it's in person, usually there's a time stamp you have to put to it. And let me just say, from personal experience, you can be 1-2 minutes late and it's a no-go. So you want to make sure you do it on time and however they tell you to do it. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, inaccurate information. I want to talk about pricing here. I had someone come to me after the fact, just so you know, but they joined my program. But what happened is they submitted a proposal, and they had someone help them. Maybe it was their assistant. I don't know what you call them, but they had someone help them, and they submitted the wrong numbers. And so they weren't able to perform that project. They had to go back to the contracting officer, kind of explain what happened, and ask if they could be, let out of that contract because they couldn't do it for that price. So they let them out, but they wouldn't let them reprice it and give them another shot at it. Okay. So you want to, first of all, make sure when you source your number. Oh, this one's dry. Okay, that's not gonna work. Let's see. See if this one works. No. So you want to make sure you have good numbers, and then validate those numbers too, and double check your numbers. You know how we can transpose numbers, so you want to make sure your numbers are right. And then you, with your, your vendors, subs, suppliers, any place else you're getting numbers from, you want to make sure you're able to get the best price from them. So maybe they may offer discounts for prompt payments. Maybe they offer discounts for being a repeat customer. Your subs may give you better premium pricing, if you will, because you're going to be giving them, or giving them the opportunity to bid on future work with you and things like that. So all those things play a part. At the end of the day, you want to get the best price you can because you want to be competitive with your numbers. You also want to make sure you're including your overhead cost, so like your indirect cost. Okay. Inside my bid to win program, one of the things we cover is definitely this overhead and how to calculate your overhead, but also how to calculate the percentage that you will allocate to each project, because you do know when you have multiple projects going on throughout the year, which you probably do more than one a year, that you just can't take your entire overhead cost and put it to one project or put it to every project. There's a percentage to that, okay? And you have to calculate it and then calculate your percentages. So at the end of the day, with your numbers, you want to make sure two things. One, that you're competitive, and that you're profitable. Okay, and I also show you how to calculate your profit margins into your cost as well inside of my Bid to Win accelerator program. So the next thing we want to, lack of contract type understanding. So remember I said you need to understand the type of contracts they're putting out. Well, one of the places you can go look for this, and I think this is really, really great, is here to the forecast. So if you know which agency you're targeting, you can go look at their forecast and see what opportunities they have coming down the pipeline. That would allow you to have a proactive approach. That'll allow you to start putting your team together, putting any resources you need together, so that you're ready for when that opportunity hits the streets, and that you're ahead of the game. You kind of know how much bonding you may need, what insurance you will need. Do you need to get some subcontractors on board with this, or can you handle it in-house? Those things will, allow you to be proactive in your approach and not be at the last minute running around trying to get someone to help you as far as getting good numbers. Because you have to understand, these vendors, suppliers, and subs, they're not working on your time. And even contracting officers, I came up with this phrase, that their mindset is your lack of preparation is not their emergency. So you want to be proactive in your approach, and that means giving them enough time to price out your projects for you. Now let me tell you about this forecast. It's a gold mine. And so once you decide on your agencies, you should be looking at your agency's forecast, because it's going to tell you, again, projects they have coming down the pipeline, but it also gives you the contracting officer's contact information. Okay, so you get their contact info. I'm talking name, email, even phone number. Now, all forecasts don't give you the same information depending on the agencies, but when you find the good agencies, they give it all to you. Oh boy, is that juicy. All right, they also tell you dates. Okay, so like what quarter they plan on putting out a particular opportunity, and sometimes they'll even allocate it to a month. So that's pretty cool. Allows you to prepare for that and to be on the lookout for it. They may tell you how they're going to set it aside, whether it's going to be service disabled vet, woman on small business, 8A. All right. And that's at the federal level, or total small business, or partial small business, hub zone, those type of things. And even, so that's great there. All right. Definitely you want to know that, because if they're going to set it aside for a WOSB and you're not a WOSB, then you wouldn't look at that opportunity unless you're looking at doing some type of teaming arrangement or a joint venture with a woman-owned small business. And we talk about that actually in phase 2 of my Bid to Win accelerator. So, but for these purposes here, if you're not a woman-owned, then you wouldn't look at that opportunity. It also tells you the contracting vehicle. Remember I said, talking about here the type, but the contracting vehicle that they'll use to put it out. So they'll let you know whether it's a RFQ or RFP. They'll even let you know, if they plan to put out, a request for information. And another place, you guys, you can look and we're not going to get into it here, but sam.gov, where they'll put the RFQs, RFPs, RFIs, sources sought, those type of things out on there as well. So here's the thing. Once you know which agency you plan to target, the next thing to do is to check out their forecast. Start preparing. And it'll help you in searching on sam.gov versus, where there's a multitude, hundreds of thousands of opportunities on there every day. Well, if you can narrow down agency, set aside type, and, either your NAICS codes or what you offer, the phrase, then it'll narrow your search down for you. And you don't have to look through 100,000 opportunities to find something. So in doing these things here, understanding, what an incomplete proposal could consist of, inaccurate information, and definitely your pricing. But once you figure out the target agency and you start looking at the forecast, now you can start planning. Now you can start solidifying your approach. And we talk about that in phase 1 of Bid to Win, where it's about positioning. All right, making sure you're positioned correctly for the opportunities that you can, look at, submit on, and that you actually have a shot at winning. It also allows you to start building your team. Remember, we talked about that. Will you be able to do it in-house? Do you need to get subcontractors on board, or are you going to use independent contractors, day laborers, whatever you decide to use? But you can start putting those things in place, or maybe you're going to use a staffing agency. Also, it'll tell you, size-wise. I forgot to say that they'll tell you estimated dollar value too. So that'll let you know, what type of bonding you may need, insurance, resources as far as cash flow to, float the project until it can float itself. And at the end of the day, being proactive in your approach and understanding these things, it will allow you to put together a proposal that's compliant and competitive. It'll allow you to put together a proposal that's compelling, compliant, and competitive. So 3 C's. Bidding government contracts can be a game changer for your business, but it does come with challenges that can definitely derail your success. So 1, compliance, right? Being compliant with the proposal requirements, having reasonable pricing, targeting the right agencies, and of course, knowing which NAICS codes to use. Now, these things can definitely become an issue if they're not addressed. So definitely, you always want to make sure you're compliant, you're meeting the requirements. Now, by fixing these common things that we just discussed here, will aid you in positioning your company as a strong contender as you start submitting on these opportunities. Now, by understanding the bid process, it will allow you to be proactive in your approach, avoid common pitfalls, and allow you to set yourself up for success. So remember, the key to winning bids is not just about submitting as many as you can. It's about being smart. Now, when you're ready to simplify the process and win more contracts with confidence, let's make it happen. Now, it all starts with you being able to break down a solicitation and pull out the requirements and write a compelling, compliant, and competitive proposal. That also entails you being able to source numbers, price competitively but profitably. And each of these steps are laid out for you inside of my Bid to Win Accelerator program, for sure. Your best first step is to leverage the free solicitation training so that you can be compliant when you're submitting your proposals. Again, here's what you do. Comment breakdown below so that we can send you access to this free, incredibly powerful training. And remember, you're just one contract away. Bye for now.